Welcome to the Commerce and Consumer Protection Committee dated March 13th, 2025. Today we'll be hearing alcohol-related bills, mostly one-off provisions for local events that would like to be able to serve alcohol. Members, the plan for the bills we're hearing today is to move the ones that we'll lay them all over. We'll compile the ones that are favorable into a liquor omnibus bill, try to match that up with the House, and then move that to the floor next Thursday as a standalone liquor omnibus bill. As has been the practice in the past, there won't be amendments accepted onto that liquor omnibus once it reaches the floor. And we will start with Senate File 1168, Senator Nelson. Welcome to the committee. Senate File 1168 is before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's great to be here in G15 with you today. I also want to thank you for hearing the bill, Chair Klein and committee, and also my co-sponsor, Senator Bolden. Senate File 1168 authorizes the City of Rochester to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license. This is a special law for a full liquor license for the historic Chateau. Many of you might know it by the Chateau Theater as its name, but it is not a theater. It is a community gathering spot, and it's a historic landmark. It's been a cultural centerpiece since 1927, and it was originally called the Chateau Dodge Theater, designed in a French chateau arch style. Inside, it's like a medieval style French village, complete with balconies, turrets, battlements, gates, arches. The ceiling is kind of like dark blue if you've been there. And it's all full of constellations, so you think you're outside in this French village. I only tell you that because I'm going to be sending you a picture of it. It's quite beautiful. But today it is a community gathering spot. It's a key in our downtown activation. I'll give you just a quick bill summary, and then I'd like to turn it over to my testifier, Mr. Chair. As I said, Senate File 1168 authorizes the City of Rochester to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license to the historic Chateau. I say theater as it was a theater. It was a vaudeville theater at one point. It is not a theater today. And you will see that on lines 1.7 and 1.8 in the bill. The license allows sales on all days of the week to individuals attending performances, exhibitions, or other events at the Chateau, and you'll see that on lines 9 and 10. And then the bill aligns with the existing liquor laws. We have that boilerplate language in 110 and 11, although we're asking for a special law since it's not a theater. And then, as you will see in lines 12 and 13, it takes effect upon approval by the Rochester City Council, and it's compliant with a Minnesota statute, section 645.021. So with that, a little bit of history and a bill walkthrough, I would like to turn it over to my testifier, Mr. Chair, our Rochester Deputy City Clerk, Christiane.
You bet. So before we go to that, I'll just alert testifiers that we have 12 bills to get through today. They're all kind of along the same lines. There are 7 Democratic-authored bills and 5 Republican-authored bills. If we could get testifiers to keep it under about 2 minutes. Thanks a lot. Mr. Cartwright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee, and Senator Nelson for authoring this bill, alongside with Senator Bolden. My name is Christiane Cartwright, and I am the Deputy City Clerk for the City of Rochester. We are requesting a special law change for the Chateau Theater, a community asset owned by the City of Rochester and currently operated by a nonprofit third party. Despite its name, the Chateau Theater does not, as Senator Nelson has said, meet the definition of theater under Minnesota Statute 348.404 subdivision 1AB, 8B, nor would it appear to meet the standard definition of a convention center. Rather, it serves partially as a theater, partially as an event space, and wholly as a community asset in the heart of Rochester's downtown. The venue hosts various events, including weddings, graduations, art ceremonies, cultural celebrations, exhibits, limited theater performances, craft fairs, and free children's activities. In other cities, similar establishments, such as museums and cultural entertainment venues, including concessionaires within art museums and sport venues, have recently received special legislation. This legislation would allow the Chateau Theater to fully utilize its space and maximize its potential use for the community, visitors, and various events, including cultural groups and celebrations. Thank you very much for your consideration of this bipartisan bill.
Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. I appreciate it. Members, questions or comments on Senate File 1168? There are none. Senator Nelson, Senate File 1168 will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. Senator Frentz, Senate File 265 is in front of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. Very proud to present to you Senate File 265. This is a request from the City of Mankato and Minnesota State Mankato University to allow beer and wine license to be issued by the City of Mankato for use at the Taylor Center. Proud to be joined here by Athletic Director Kevin Beisman. Folks, the Taylor Center is about 4,800 seats. Host to Maverick events and local events that we're proud of. If I start talking about the success of the Maverick Athletic Department, we will never get out of this hearing, but proud of our current champions in men's and women's basketball who play at the Taylor Center. National champions, that is, Mr. Chair. What we're asking for is to be allowed to sell the fans that come to Taylor Center beer and wine. It's a request I've heard from residents of the Mankato area and fans of Maverick Athletics for many, many, many years. This, of course, is something that we've discussed with the City of Mankato, and they are supportive. And I could go on and on and on, Mr. Chair, but I think it might be better to hear from Mr. Beisman, who obviously leads the athletic department and knows the Taylor Center and the fans that go there very well. With that, I'd ask you to accept a little bit of testimony, less than 2 minutes, please, from Athletic Director Kevin Beisman.
Welcome to St. Paul, Mr. Beisman. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. As Nick mentioned, my name is Kevin Beisman. I'm Director of Athletics for Minnesota State University, which is, of course, a proud member of the Minnesota State system of colleges and universities. I'm here on behalf of Minnesota State Mankato to ask for your support of the liquor bill that will allow our institution to apply for a license with the City of Mankato for on-sale liquor. I would mention that this is modeled on legislation that has been in place at St. Cloud State for a number of years with no issue there. We are seeking this license in order to expand and improve the game day experience for Maverick fans attending our events at Taylor Center. The addition of beer and wine offerings is something that as Nick mentioned, have been requesting for many years and would benefit the university with a new revenue stream. As you might imagine, safety is our top concern, top priority. Our dining services provider, Sodexo, has agreed to hold the license and would take responsibility for ensuring the safety of all our fans and students, including trainings on safety pouring regulations, ensuring the proper locked supply of storage of alcohol provisions and ID protocols. We are certainly excited about the future of Maverick Athletics and being able to offer these amenities to the fans who come to our events at the Taylor Center would help us to elevate our presence and offer an experience that fans have come to enjoy and expect at athletic events of our caliber. So I thank you for your support, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Members, questions or comments for Senator Frentz? Senator Frentz, we are going to lay Senate File 265 over for possible inclusion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you, Mr. Beisman. I usually go by Senator Frentz around here, but appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Senator Frentz.
Senator Utke. Welcome to the Commerce Committee. Senator Utke, might be my first time having you here. Senate File 1655 is before our committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I believe the testifier, Anthony Perkle, will join us on Zoom. You probably have that on your list, hopefully. So just a quick introduction. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This is a temporary license for the Lake of the Woods County may issue to the Baudette Area Association or Arena Association. The arena just happens to be next to the school. And this actually is, we passed this in 2020, so those of you sitting around the table that have been here a little while may have say this sounds familiar. We passed it, it's expired, and so bringing it back to you. So if we could call on Mr. Perkle via Zoom, and he can give you a little more of the information related to this bill.
Sure will, Senator. Mr. Perkle, can you hear me, and are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, we can see you. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Chair and members of the committee. My name is Anthony Perkle. I serve as the Public Works Director for Lake of the Woods County. Additionally, I am also a member of the Baudette Arena Association. I'd like to thank Senator Utke for introducing Senate File 1655 for consideration. In 2018, the Baudette area was fortunate enough to receive a generous private donation of $6 million to build a state-of-the-art arena for the community. Land adjacent to the school was purchased and the facility was constructed. Located in northern Minnesota and a community of just 900 people, the arena has become a heart of our community. It's the only large, non-school venue capable of hosting a variety of events indoors, providing shelter from the weather in both summer and winter months. The primary intent behind building the facility was also to make it available for non-hockey and non-figure skating events. Over the years, the arena has hosted a variety of events, including post-prom, gatherings, graduation parties, baby showers, arts and craft festivals, sports shows, a circus, indoor wrestling events, and music concerts. In 2020, the Arena Board introduced legislation to allow temporary alcohol licenses to be served at certain events hosted by this facility. This was required due to it being within 1,500 feet of a school. Although the legislation was approved, a required step in the process, approval from the county board as stipulated by statute 645.021, was unfortunately missed. The county board was supportive of the legislation, but due to the challenges posed by COVID-19 and the lack of attention to the fine details, this step was inadvertently overlooked. It wasn't until this year when an indoor fundraiser for the county fair was proposed, one that involved serving alcohol, that this oversight was noticed. Both the Arena Board and County are in full support of this legislation. If passed, it will provide much needed flexibility for hosting more events at the arena. These additional events, which would request alcohol service, would primarily consist of weddings, indoor concerts, and similar like gatherings. While the majority of the events at our arena will remain alcohol free, this just provides us the flexibility to make the venue much more attractive for these type of events. Moreover, allowing alcohol sales will help ensure the long-term viability of this valuable facility, generating additional revenue to support its continued operation. If this legislation is approved, the Arena Board will still need to obtain approval from the school board and secure a temporary liquor license from the county board before any alcohol can be served at the event. Additionally, a licensed business or entity with a catering license and staff trained in responsible beverage service or with a bartending license would be required to serve the alcohol. It is important to note that alcohol service would not occur during school hours, and property security measures will be in place for these special events. I want to emphasize that the county board fully supports this legislation and will approve it in accordance to statute 645.021. Once again, I would like to thank Senator Utke as well as the chair and the committee for allowing me this opportunity to testify today. I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Perkle, and thank you for the precautions that your community plans to have around this establishment. Any questions for the author or testifier? Senator Utke, Easy Trip to Commerce, your bill 1655 is laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble. Members, we're going to just shuffle the agenda slightly. Senator Dibble has to get to another committee. So we will be hearing this bill, and then Senator Latz's bill, and then Senator Westrom's bill. That's fine. Welcome to the committee, Senator Dibble. Senate File 1654 is in front of the committee. Welcome to the committee, Senator Latz. Senate File 2059 is also in front of the committee. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and thank you for the opportunity to present Senate File 1654 in tandem with my good friend and neighbor in St. Louis Park, Senator Latz, who's presenting Senate File 2059. We're asking for essentially the same thing, which is to allow for a liquor license to be issued in a food hall in the same manner in which we had done so a few years ago for a food hall located near the University of Minnesota at what is known as Malcolm Yards, or the market at Malcolm Yards. If anyone has been there, you'd understand what a great and fun time you can be had at Malcolm Yards. It's this giant, I think, old train shed or some sort of an industrial building in which a number of small food vendors are located. Some, I think, might have gotten their start as food trucks or might have food trucks. There are small startup food vending companies. And then in another area of the structure is where you can go and get your alcoholic beverage, your beer. There's basically a big wall where you can pour your own beer that's provided by the owner of the food hall and not attached to any of the food vendors themselves. So that's how liquor licenses usually work. And so that's why this kind of unique liquor license needs to be granted. Just to take note, this simply empowers and allows, in my case, the city of Minneapolis, and in the case of Senator Latz, the city of St. Louis Park, to issue this liquor license in this circumstance if they see fit. That's my bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Senator Latz, Senate File 2059.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm just pleased to be here. Now I want some Korean chicken.
Could have brought it.
We're frequent attendees at the yard at Malcolm Yards, at the food hall there. Love it. Great food, great place to hang and relax with friends and family. We're very excited at the prospect that it might be coming into our West End in St. Louis Park. I'm hopeful that we can have them join us in an area that's vibrant with movie theaters, restaurants, and bars already. Could use another destination for that area as well, and there's a lot of residential being built up right around that space as well. So this would be a perfect addition. And it would give the city of St. Louis Park an opportunity, if they decide, the city council decides they want to go forward with it, to allow, to facilitate this establishment coming into our area. So we're here with Patty Wall, who operates Malcolm Yards by the University of Minnesota. Maybe before we get there, I do have a technical amendment that I'd like to offer, the A1 amendment. This is the first stop, so it'll be an author's amendment.
Senator Latz offers the A1 as an author's amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ms. Wall, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Patty Wall. I'm the owner-operator of the market at Malcolm Yards near the University of Minnesota. And also, I hope you've had a chance to visit and see how our food hall operates. About 10 years ago, I was exploring opening a food hall in Minnesota where a variety of different food operators could rent space and common seating existed within the building. I also wanted to serve alcohol. I discovered that what I wanted to do did not fit into existing liquor laws, and thus it was going to be impossible to get a liquor license for a food hall. Consequently, in 2017, with the help of Senator Dietzich, we came to the legislature, worked with her and other interested parties, and passed special legislation that allowed us to open the food hall that now exists. I come here today to ask for your permission to amend the state liquor law so we may open 2 new locations. We propose an amendment which would allow, but not require, the city of St. Louis Park and Minneapolis to grant a license to do this. Thank you, and I am happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Any questions from the committee on either bill? Senator Dibble, we will lay over Senate File 1654 for possible inclusion. We will lay over Senate File 2059 as amended for possible inclusion. Thank you, Senator Latz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Senator Western, it's my understanding that your testifier isn't with us online yet. We're going to go to Senator Wiklund, and we'll pick you up as soon as that person arrives.
Sounds good.
Senator Wiklund.
My LA's talking.
Yeah.
You can sit over here, yeah.
Welcome to the committee, Senator Wiklund. Senate File 1588 is in front of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have an author's amendment for the bill, the A1, and that is to correct and make sure that the wording for on-sale intoxicating liquor license is accurate or corrects that in the bill. So,
Senator
If I can
Wiklund
move
offers
that,
the
please.
A1 as an author's amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Senator Wiklund.
thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is to, Bloomington is seeking authorization to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Dwan Golf Course through special legislation. Minnesota statute currently governs the issuance of liquor licenses, and the state legislature has approved similar authorizations for other municipal golf courses to sell intoxicating liquor, such as those in Roseville, Duluth, Inver Grove Heights, and Golden Valley. And I have testifiers here who can speak more, or a testifier and someone who can answer questions, but Ann Cutray is here to provide testimony on the bill.
Thank you, Senator Wiklund. Ms. Cotray, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Chair and members, thank you. My name is Ann Catry, and I'm the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Bloomington. With me today is Peter Curvers. Peter is our golf course manager at Dwan. Dwan is an 18-hole golf course that opened in 1970. It's one of the busiest courses in the state and hosts over 50,000 rounds per year. It's a beautiful course with undulating greens and narrow tree-lined fairways that's great for golfers of all ages and abilities. I'm here on behalf of the City of Bloomington to explain why Senate File 1588 is both necessary and beneficial to our community. This bill would allow the City of Bloomington to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license for Dwan Golf Course. Under state law, cities are not specifically authorized to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license to golf courses. State law authorizes cities to issue golf courses an intoxicating liquor license if they meet the statutory definitions of either a restaurant or a club. Cities are authorized to issue a 3.2 malt liquor license to golf courses. So if a golf course does not have a restaurant or is not a club, as defined in state law, the golf course is not permitted to sell intoxicating liquor. The state legislature has approved similar authorizations for other municipal golf courses to sell intoxicating liquor. Currently, Dwan Golf Course is only authorized to sell 3.2 beer. This significantly limits beverages available for sale and completely prohibits wine sale. Municipal golf courses like Dwan serve as more than just recreational spaces. They're social gathering spaces for residents as well. Many cities in Minnesota, including Roseville, Duluth, Inver Grove Heights, and Golden Valley, have successfully received similar legislative approval to allow liquor sales at their municipal courses. Bloomington is seeking the same authorization. By approving this request, the legislature would enable Bloomington to provide a service that aligns with existing practices across the state. This bill would allow us to responsibly manage and regulate alcohol sales at Dwan Golf Course, enhancing the experience for patrons while ensuring compliance with all necessary liquor liability and insurance requirements. The city intends to replace the Dwan Clubhouse in the next few years, and a robust food and beverage operation will be critical for the continued success of our golf operation. This legislation would take effect only with the approval of the Bloomington City Council, assuring local oversight and accountability. This is a common-sense measure that supports local decision-making, economic activity, and recreational tourism. I respectfully ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Cotray. Members of the committee, any questions or comments on the bill? With that, Senate File 1588 as amended will be laid over for possible inclusion. Senator Westrom. Welcome to the committee, Senator Westrom. I think we're still sort of hammering out some technical details with your testifier, but
Oh,
Senate File
okay.
1865 is in front of the committee if you want to tell us about it.
I do. I understand he was able to get in, so hopefully we can get that figured out. Mr. Chair, members, the bill in front of us is a bill allowing intoxicating liquors to be licensed, that a city municipality may license for a food truck, or if they have a food truck has a catering a contract with a party, which has become a new style of food operations and restaurants, if you will. And Mr. Schmidt, who you hopefully can hear from shortly, has a very popular food truck up in the Alexandria area and had brought this issue to me and Representative Frentz. And so that's kind of in a nutshell the bill in front of us, allowing the city authority or permissive language to issue a liquor license for a food truck that's operating in their city or community.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. Mr. Schmidt, are you able to hear us? We're working on it, Senator Westrom.
Okay. I wish I could help you more, but I'm.
It's possible your testifier has a bad connection. It's not your fault. Is he in the room? Members, we have a couple letters, one in support and one in opposition to the bill that are in your packets.
And Mr. Chair, ironic of all things, the House had a hearing this morning, which Mr. Schmidt was, oh, there he is, was down for, and he thought that was the only hearing, mixing up that we had two hearings, and we didn't realize the House was separate from us. And so when they said, oh, you're done, you can go home, he went home and not realizing that we were two different hearings
That's
today.
too bad.
So
That's a good story, but I feel badly that he forgot about the Senate.
that, thank you. Well, not everybody thinks about it like we do,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so I feel bad that it happened, but I appreciate your flexibility.
No problem at all. Mr. Schmidt, if you can hear me, go ahead and introduce yourself and proceed.
Yes, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I apologize, but I'm Jason Schmidt with Smoke and Brews and Q's here in Alexandria, Minnesota. Yeah, the bill that we're trying to do is what I'd like to do is get a liquor license for my mobile food truck. But what I'm looking for is for private events, where for grooms' dinners, weddings, family reunions, stuff like that. I don't want to be in the festivals. You know, I don't want to do street dances or anything like that. That's for the local communities for their fundraiser and stuff. So I don't want to step on their toes. I'm just looking for to be able to get the liquor license to do the jobs for the catering side.
Sounds good, Mr. Schmidt. Appreciate your work. Tell me about your food truck. What's it called and where do you operate? And tell me more.
So I own Smoke and Brews and Q's here in Alexandria, Minnesota. We do custom barbecuing. We do custom catering for the Alexandria area. We've been down to the Twin Cities a few times. But yeah, so we started in January 1 of 2020, full time. Well, we know what happened in March, so we turned around, redid our business plan, and turned it into the customized catering so we could bring the people to their lake homes and stuff like that. If you're familiar with the Alexandria area, there's a lot of lake homes here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Schmidt. This one just a little different from the other bills before us because it would sort of create a provision that would apply to all food trucks, although the authority is still within the governance of the municipality to decide whether they want to issue this or not. And they could issue it either for a community festival or event or a private event, and the licenses would be temporary. Members, any questions or comments? Senator Dahms.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Westrom, can you tell me, is this for food trucks that do not do catering or food trucks that do catering or both?
Senator Westrom.
Senator Dahms, Mr. Chair, Senator Dahms, the target for this is for food trucks that have catering events and contracts is the primary interest that, as I understand it. Maybe I'd defer to Mr. Schmidt to expand on that a little bit more if he would.
Mr. Schmidt, any comments on the question of Senator Dahms?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Davis. Yes, that's what I was looking for, is just for the bigger food trucks and the companies that do the catering side. So that way we're not running around on the streets or anything like that looking for liquor licenses to sell to anybody out on the street or anything like that. But it's just for us, the food trucks that do more of the catering side than more of the street pop-up, where you set up on the side of the street. 90% of my business in the area is probably more catering and stuff like that, more of the groom's dinners and stuff like that. So that's what I was trying to do.
Thank
Senator
you.
Dahms. Members, Senator Wiklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about the consecutive days and the not more than a certain number of days. Who is going to define, what numbers go in there for those blanks?
Members, at line 1.23, there's dot spaces for the days allotted by Senate File 1865. Senator Westrom or the testifier, any insight on that?
Well, Mr. Chair, and we'd left that blank tentatively, but I think generally we're talking short periods of time, maybe a weekend or a day. Again, Mr. Schmidt could maybe offer input on how long his caterings typically are, but my understanding is they're generally an afternoon or an evening or a one-day event, maybe two max. But Mr. Schmidt, if you could comment on that. We didn't fill in a number on the number of days. That's what they're asking about, something that we would want the committee to consider as they move forward, assuming there would be favorable.
So, Mr.
favorable
Schmidt,
treatment.
any guidance on the number of days that these things typically require? The committee will have to make a decision to fill in that number at some point.
So the number of days, if we could look at it where, so basically we're booking out a year in advance. So I would have somewhat of an idea where, to be perfectly honest, you're looking at maybe 10 events for the year. For me personally, I can't speak on the other hands of the other caterers and stuff like that if they'd have more to do with it. But I know, there's about 10 to 12 times a year where I've lost a few jobs where I wasn't able to do it because of the privacy, where they don't want the second vendors coming in. They just want to do that. So if you could treat it maybe even as a special event permit where you'd have to apply, so then the city and everybody would know. I don't know exactly what the right number would be.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. So in terms of consecutive days, when you host one of these events, is that usually a single-day event then?
Yes, sir. So you're looking at a groom's dinner, you're looking at about 3-4 hours. You look at a wedding dance, 4 to 5 hours. So that would be it. It would be a one-day affair unless I was lucky enough to get the groom's dinner and the dance.
Okay. Senator Wiklund?
Good question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it would be interesting for the committee to know what's going to be settled on for that, if this is going to move forward in the omnibus. So just think it would be of interest. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Westrom?
Senator Wiklund, I'd be happy to work with council a little bit more to define that, and I'd certainly take direction from you and others on the committee. One question I have for council, but I don't need to take your time unless it's a quick answer. I'm not clear on if the way it's written, if it means that the event and license would just be for 1 or 2 days at a time, or if you have to put in a number that would count how many days in a year they could get the special liquor license. So that's what I'm not sure on, but council's something I could work with council on. But
Thank you, Senator Westrom. And it's actually both. Your bill asks, first of all, how many consecutive days for each event, and then how many total days per year would be requested. And the committee will certainly, if you're going to work with council on that, we'll defer to sort of your guidance on those numbers.
okay, and Mr. Chair, my sense is smaller numbers, not big numbers, is something we're trying to get started here, and the committee might have more comfort with. But you give us some guidance, we'd be happy to work with you.
Other further questions from the committee? Senator Westrom, thank you so much. Senate File 1865 will be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Senator Pappas. Welcome to the committee. Senator Pappas, Senate File 2202 is in front of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this legislation is trying to do is to give permission to the city of St. Paul to issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license to both the Science Museum of Minnesota for use on its premises and also for the Union Depot, which is located at 214 4th Street East. With me is the director of the Department of Safety and Inspections from the city of St. Paul. I'm going to do the name wrong now. Dan Najiblik. Almost?
Nijelik.
Say it again.
Nijelik.
Nijelik. Dan Nijelik.
Welcome to the committee, Mr. Nijelik. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Dan Nijelik, Department of Safety Inspection, City of St. Paul. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. As the senator mentioned, we are seeking the ability to issue on-sale liquor licenses to the Science Museum as well as Union Depot. We are looking for special provision language within Chapter 348.404. Under current statute language, it really doesn't fit the model of what the Science Museum and the Union Depot are. They're large facility with many unique and different spaces. Currently, we are not allowed or provide the opportunity to issue on-sale liquor licenses to museums and or transit stations as establishments. In order to work with them, we'd be doing a variety of things who would not be able to support them in the model. So we're looking for special provision language, very similar to many other community assets that we have in the state, including the Walker Art Center, the Museum of Russian Art, the American Swedish Institute, Fitzgerald Theater, the Great American History Theater, and the Palace Theater. So we're seeking your permission for special provision language, thus that we'd be able to issue on-sale liquor licenses to these great community assets. As we all know, the ability to have special events, which are having a greater interest, would support their social contribution and financial health of them. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nijelik. Members, questions? Senator Pappas, Senate File 2202 is laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Chairman.
Clark. Senator Dahms. Welcome to the committee, Lead Dahms. Senate File 2376 is before us.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and thank you for hearing Senate File 2376. Excuse me. Senate File 2376 is a request for a special license for the City of Springfield. City of Springfield, Minnesota may issue an on-sale intoxicating liquor license and an on-sale wine and strong beer license or an on-sale including Sunday intoxicating liquor license for the city-owned facility known as the Springfield Area Community Center. And today I have a testifier with me, and Senator, Mr. Chair, if you're ready, they could do their testimony.
Ms. Dale, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Klein and members of the committee. My name is Amber Dale, and I serve as the city manager for Springfield, Minnesota, a community of just over 2,000 people in Brown County. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of Senate File 2376 today. Currently, the city contracts with external entities to manage alcohol sales at the community center, and under this arrangement, the outside entity retains the revenue from alcohol sales and pays a small rental fee for the right to sell liquor. In Springfield, like many rural communities, there are very few entities with the appropriate license and even fewer willing to take on this responsibility as it creates staffing challenges in our rural area. Senate File 2376 offers a solution by allowing Springfield to directly manage liquor service should an external entity decide to cease providing this service. Without this legislation, if the current vendor would walk away, the city would face a difficult task in replacing that vendor. This bill ensures our community's weddings and events can proceed smoothly. Without the ability to serve alcohol, future bookings would be canceled and which would reduce rental income that supports the community center's operational costs. On behalf of the City of Springfield, I'd like to express our gratitude to Senator Dahms for authoring this legislation, which provides a practical solution to mitigate risk and promote fiscal responsibility in our local community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Members' questions? Senator Dahms. Senate File 2376 is laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Senator Putnam. Welcome to the committee, Senator Putnam. Senate File 1182 is before us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members, for taking the time to hear this important bill. Mr. Chair, members, I kind of long for the day when we don't refer to COVID anymore as a foundation for the things we talk about. But I think all of us know the consequences that COVID had for our communities, both economically and socially and culturally. And one of the things that I hope that we learned from that experience is that isolation is not healthy. So we see ourselves in positions where we need to have reasons for people to come together again. Occasions and magnets to bring people together. And that's what this bill deals with. Last year, the legislature took a step forward in increasing our opportunities to come together. We passed a law that empowered local communities, Anoka, Shakopee, and Stillwater, the authority to create their own social district. Now, a social district is a well-defined area within a municipality where citizens can transport and consume alcohol. Frequently, there's also music, art, other reasons to bring people together, all in the same space. Now, that initial bill was a pilot. And the good thing about a pilot is that it tests whether a program or an idea is practical or prudent. This particular pilot succeeded beautifully. The Anoka district has been so successful that they just expanded it to 7 days. In Stillwater and Shakopee, also a success because their local communities are talking about how they want to do this, engaging in public deliberation themselves about the scope and character of what a social district might look like in their communities. Now, this bill specifically will allow cities to create and administer social districts, allows businesses to opt out of a social district, and prevents cities from creating a social district in an area where a particular business objects. I will add that in Anoka, 12 businesses came together to establish a social district. These 12 businesses working together because they know that a rising tide helps their entire community. It creates clear guidelines for possible hours of operation, defined boundaries, container requirements, and management and maintenance expectations for the social district. And last, it requires cities to submit reports to the legislature on the social district, detailing the community response and any potential public safety concerns. Now, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd like to turn to my friend Ray here. He's here to tell you a little bit about the great good that this initiative would do in our hometown of St. Cloud.
Thank you, Senator Putnam. Mr. Harrington, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair and community members. I'm Ray Harrington. I'm here to testify on behalf of the St. Cloud Area Chamber of Commerce and the Greater St. Cloud Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, both of which I'm on the executive board of. I also am an owner in Latz Restaurant Group, which owns and operates 20 different restaurants in Minnesota and Iowa. I'm here in support of SB 1182, which simply gives the opportunity to allow for social districts. Hospitality Minnesota recently released results of a member survey that shows that the hospitality industry has still not recovered from COVID and its mandates. Allowing cities the opportunity to stimulate activity, growth, and sales in their downtowns would be a great step in helping restaurant to bar businesses in all of our downtowns. Not only would it be a great step towards helping recovering downtowns, but it would also be a great to promote community in our downtowns. As an example, in downtown St. Cloud, the current restrictions limit the accessibility of food and drink for special events. Having a social district would help with these events. Special events such as arts festivals, live music, holiday and social celebrations like St. Patrick's Day, Oktoberfest, and cultural and social awareness events like Pride Month activities. The side note, I live and work in Senator Putnam's district, and I had the opportunity to vote against it many times. But this bill is a great example of how it should be not even up for discussion, a very bipartisan bill that everyone should be supporting.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. And I compliment you as well, Ms. Senator Putnam, on your bipartisan authors of this bill. Members, questions or comments? Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for the bill author. Senator Putnam, does now when we have low potency THC infused beverages, does your bill allow those types of beverages to be consumed in an open container in these districts, or is it strictly limited to alcoholic beverages?
Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Rasmusson. The language that I see in the bill is exclusively to alcoholic beverages. That's the reference that I see. Those other beverages are not explicitly disallowed, but what I see is it does allow for alcoholic beverage specifically.
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Putnam. And I guess I'm not necessarily against the bill, but I'd say like one thing I think it's just important for us to understand what we're doing is we're calling them social districts, but what they really are drinking districts, right? We're basically saying that instead of having current Minnesota law, which disallows consumption of an alcoholic beverage on city streets and parks and other public areas, that now we're going to allow that. And I just think it's important, when we think back to Minnesota's liquor laws, and I think there was a real focus, especially coming out of the Prohibition era, to make sure that we had laws that encouraged public health and protected safety. And I think this is just a bill where I get concerned on are we shifting away from some of those safety concerns, some of those consumption concerns, and focusing too much on commercial interests. And I just think it's something for us to be thoughtful about what we're doing. We're basically allowing people to walk from bar to bar and have alcoholic beverages, and just think about what that means in terms of public health and public safety and why we had those restrictions in the first place. So I look forward to continued conversations and thinking about that, but just wanted to air some of those questions and concerns I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator
Senator
Putnam.
Rasmussen, and I would, Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Rasmussen, for your concern. I think it's a valid one. I would put in a third leg to that stool, however. So we have the economic concern, we have the sort of public safety concern, but we also do have the socialization concern. And I want to acknowledge that the social district is a very well-defined district. This is not drinking in parks in public or going in different places. It's a very specific place that a municipality has decided to enable behaviors. And one thing I would encourage us all to do when you're thinking about this is go look at the webpage for Anoka's social district. It's fascinating. There's a map to all the artists who perform, all the buskers, all the people who are playing music, all the public art. So while it is a space enabled by alcoholic consumption, as Senator Rasmussen validly points out, you don't have to drink to be there. You can be drawn there because of the art, because of the music, because you just want to see other people. So to me, that is the most important part of this. My friend Ray here, who I didn't know always enjoys voting against me. I know he votes against me. I didn't know he enjoyed it quite so much. For him, it's an economic concern. For me, it's about sociality and our cultural health as well as our physical.
Senator Putnam. Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Putnam. I appreciate the conversation. I think, too, while it might seem burdensome for individual communities to come before the committee and to propose their own social district like the 3 cities that did last year, I do think it can be a helpful check, right, to make sure that the communities have a solid plan and that they're responsible actors. And one thing about this bill is if it goes in the statute books, we won't really hear about this idea. We won't have communities coming and proposing this in front of committee, and we'll just find out kind of what happens through reporting. And so I think that's just one thing for us to be thoughtful about as well. We've had a lot of these one-off bills, no questions, not really controversial, and maybe it would be prudent to continue to do these kind of one-off social districts, for a session or two and see how they continue to go before proceeding with this kind of structure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Drinking district, social district, in Lakeville, we might call it a party district. I don't know. I'm a fan of your bill. I think doing this statewide makes the most sense. I'm going to try to be consistent with my local control mantra. I think this is the ultimate form of local control if we're going to talk about the concept of a social district. And Mr. Chair, I really hope this finds it into the bill, because otherwise I'm going to have to come do one specifically for Lakeville, which I have. And the only reason I'm not clogging up the committee's time with that bill is because of yours, Senator Putnam. It's been tried other places. It seems to work. I think Senator Rasmussen makes some good points. But at the end of the day, if we're doing it smartly, we're doing it safely, I think we can trust our cities to manage this at their level. And if it becomes an issue, well, then we can always do something about it again if we have to, if this bill ultimately becomes law. Thank you.
Senator Latz.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Duckworth said most of what I'm going to say, but I just want to amplify for a moment. Senator Hayden used to come frequently before us on behalf of the city of Minneapolis with special liquor license authorization bills. And it never made a lot of sense to me that every time we had to, as a statewide legislature, had to pass a law for a local municipality to allow something that was otherwise legal, but in a certain form, and make those local decisions for them instead of letting them make their own decisions on it. It clogged up a lot of time. It took up a lot of resources. The only regret Senator Hayden had when we passed a law that allowed the stuff to be decided by the local jurisdictions is he no longer had the district having to come to him to talk with him about this stuff because he wanted that connection with them. It was a reason for them to need to talk to their senator. But other than that, we can find other ways to communicate with our local communities, I think, without using up the legislative process. And I'm not in a position to decide, is it best for St. Louis Park or for St. Cloud or isn't it? I'm not making an informed decision about that on an individual liquor license basis or district basis. None of us are, except the one who's bringing the bill who learns about it because their municipality or someone came to them and said, we need to learn about this so you can get this passed. So let's leave the decision, I think, where it's best informed and can best reflect community values. And if some communities don't want to do it, that's fine. That's entirely up to them. If some want to do it, as long as we've got some statewide standards and basic safety protections in place, I think that's entirely appropriate. Thank you.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As usual, it's difficult following the eloquent Senator Latz. Here's what I would ask. Senator Putnam, we must have some kind of public safety feedback from Anoka and Stillwater. Do we have, I mean, the nature of the pilot project's a good point by Senator Rasmusson, but we've got some information, right? Chief of police, sheriffs. I mean, is there anything you can tell the committee today, Senator Putnam, or your testifier about the experience of the pilot efforts in Anoka and Stillwater? Maybe there's a little bit there, maybe a little bit of comfort, who knows?
Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Frentz, for that question. I have not had direct conversations with law enforcement in Anoka, but I have spoken to all the representatives of that area, all of whom are very much in support of this program and say the wonders that it's done for their communities and have expressed no concerns about public safety that they have heard from their immediate direct interactions with their law enforcement community.
Senator Frentz. Yeah, my own comments on the bill are, I'm a big fan as well. First of all, with regards to local control, if you're living in a city that has approved this and you don't think it's working out for you, vote your city council person out or go to a city council meeting. It's a lot more effective than coming down here to St. Paul. Thanks for your trip today. And then just sort of the idea of revitalizing our cities as public spaces where people convene and come together. You didn't want me to mention the pandemic, but I can't help it. You know, post-pandemic, let's find community spaces where we can socialize together, and this seems to foster that. So thanks for the bill. Further questions or comments from the committee? Senator Putnam, Senate File 1182 will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thanks very much.
Senator Clark. Welcome to the committee. First trip to Commerce, Senator Clark. Senate File 2221 is in front of the committee.
Thank you, Chair Klein, and yes, indeed, first trip in front of this auspicious group. Glad to be here. Senate File 2221 would update the liquor license laws as they apply to the University of Minnesota. Currently, the entire university system, which comprises of 5 campuses, Crookston, Duluth, Morris, Rochester, and the Twin Cities, is allowed 9 liquor licenses across those 5 campuses. 8 of those licenses has already been granted, and there are needs on each campus putting a high demand on that last coveted license. These licenses are typically for university-affiliated catering to allow them to host events and be more cost-effective. The University of Minnesota Twin Cities Minneapolis campus is in my district. You may have had an event at Northrop Auditorium already and enjoyed an adult beverage thanks to one of those university liquor licenses. But other U of M campuses have similar venues and events and are unable to serve alcohol without contracting with an outside vendor due to this license issue. An example is the Crookston campus. Currently, they must hire an outside vendor when they host events for the public and alumni, like reunions and building dedications. Complicating the matter, they face significant limitations as most catering companies are based in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and aren't allowed to serve in Minnesota. Adopting the changes in the bill would aid Crookston and our other campuses who are facing similar issues in planning and organizing philanthropic activities and community events. The bill maintains existing oversight of the university's liquor licenses by both the Board of Regents and the Commissioner of Public Safety, while permitting the needs of all campuses to be reviewed and considered. I'd like to turn it over to my testifier, Ms. Herron from the University of Minnesota, to explain the changes in the bill and provide further examples of the needs across the university system.
Welcome to the committee, Ms. Karen. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Amy Karen, Director of Contract Administration at the University of Minnesota. As Senator Clark stated, the University of Minnesota is seeking changes to liquor licensing for our system. The bill does four things. First, it eliminates the cap on the number of licenses available to the university. We currently have one available license, but there are needs across the system. Second, it addresses licenses for non-contiguous spaces. As an example, this would allow UMD Catering to supply beverages at the Glen Sheen Mansion. Right now, an outside caterer must be hired for the Duluth campus to host events instead of using the in-house UMD catering. Internal catering would be more cost-effective. Third, it adds concessionaires to the licenses. The current process at the university has some limitations that may be addressed by allowing a concessionaire to hold the license. For instance, purchasing and reporting could be centralized, which would lead to a more efficient process. Lastly, it removes the restriction on the sales on the St. Paul campus. Removal of this restriction creates consistency with our food and beverage sales currently offered at the Meat and Dairy Sales Room, which features products developed through the university's College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resources Sciences. This practice helps further important research on grain and hops, which are both important to the Minnesota agricultural landscape. These changes would align with the current laws governing Minnesota's private colleges, providing parity for the university. Allowing the Board of Regents and ultimately the Commissioner of Public Safety the authority to make decisions on appropriate liquor licenses will permit the needs of all campuses to be reviewed and considered while maintaining appropriate oversight of the licensing process.
Thank you to the testifier. Any questions from the committee? Senator Clark, Senate File 2221 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Rasmusson, bring us home. Welcome to the committee. Senator Rasmusson, Senate File 1759 is in front of us. You have an author's amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the A1 amendment as an author's amendment.
Senator Rasmusson offers the A1. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to be clear on what the A1 does is it puts the language of the wine transfer bill before the committee in the exact same form that it passed the Minnesota Senate last session. And so this is a repeat bill before the committee today, and members may be familiar with the discussions that we had on it last session. So the question is, what problem are we trying to solve with this bill? And I'll give an example from the area that I represent. The city of Fergus Falls is a municipal liquor store that has two locations, one on the west side of town, another on the east side of town. And under current Minnesota law, when wine is delivered to the east location, they cannot transfer that wine under any circumstances to their other location. Even if they have trouble selling that wine and it's at risk of going bad, under law, they cannot return it. And so you can end up with stranded inventory, even though they have bought and paid for the wine and it's on their premise. There's no legal way for them to transfer it from one location to another, and that applies for all liquor retailers. So the bill before the committee is a common sense approach that would allow a very limited transfer of wine between stores of common ownership. And there's many limits in the bill as amended that to address stakeholder concerns. Number one, the liquor store is limited to one transfer per 3-month period per location. And so if they maxed out the most transfers a single location could do if they did it by the day would be 4 in a year. A maximum of 75 cases can be transferred when they do a transfer. And they must give 3 business day notice to both the regulator and the wholesaler that they purchased the wine from. They cannot be on the credit list, which means that they can't owe the wholesalers any money for wine that they have. And then it also just applies to wine. This doesn't apply to beer or liquor, only to wine. And I think this allows some very limited inventory management for liquor retailers. It helps consumers get the right product in the right place at the right time. It would help prevent wasted inventory, especially white wine that can go bad and expire. It also maintains the 3-tier system. All of the wine that we're talking about here has been bought from wholesalers and already transferred to the retailer. And when I've asked different retailers, if they add up the numbers in terms of how much they could transfer between a location, it's typically less than 1% of the total volume that they sell over the course of a year. And so we're talking about a very small amount of wine relative to these stores' annual sales. With that, Mr. Chair, happy to go to testifiers.
Thanks, Senator Rasmusson. Can Mindy Baker and Fabian Rohrs please come forward? Welcome to the committee, Ms. Baker. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you. I'm Mindy Baker with Total Wine and More. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senator Rasmusson for sponsoring the bill. I'm here on behalf of our 11 stores here in Minnesota. As the senator pointed out, obviously we have a lot of wine in our stores, Total Wine. This bill is specific to wine, as the senator pointed out. Beer, our friendly wholesalers that we work with already agree to take that back because it does go bad. Spirits tend to have a long shelf life, so we're fine keeping those on our shelves. But wine does go bad. Unfortunately, it doesn't keep as long as folks think it does. So this bill would allow us to just transfer transfer the wine that goes from one store to another. It's beer, I keep saying that. Wine that we've already purchased. We have worked with members of this coalition, the stakeholders in this group over the last year. Certainly last year we had a lot of conversations about issues with the bill. We are open to considering anything that they have a concern with. If there is an issue, we would love to address it. We worked on language last year in conference committee. We sort of came up against a buzzer there, but we would be welcome and open to any language that they would feel addresses any of their concerns. And I think we had several times when that language, we almost got there, and we'd love to work with folks again. So I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns folks may have. We're certainly open to any discussions.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Can you please make room for Mr. Brandt Irwin to come forward? Mr. Rohrs, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Fabe Rohrs, and I'm the president of Teamsters Local 792 here in Minneapolis. Our members deliver beer, wine, and spirits to local liquor stores and bars throughout the state. I personally represent over 600 members at distributorships that supply wine to retail establishments in every one of your districts. I'm here to testify and express our strong opposition to Senate File 1759, commonly known as the Wine Transfer Bill. Although on the surface, this looks to be a minor change to the state liquor laws, we understand it to be only the first wave of a much larger attack on the many distributors in the state and its workers, both union and non-union. This provision is a significant step in the wrong direction and will do a big favor to the largest corporate liquor retailer in the country, Total Wine. Total Wine has 279 superstores across 29 states, including at least 10 in Minnesota. What's worse is that this favor will come at the expense of all of the rest of us in the liquor industry. It is opposed by the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association that represents all the independent liquor stores in your district, by the wholesalers and by us Teamsters. This provision will allow one huge chain to be even more aggressive with their bulk purchasing power to take advantages of deals that winemakers offer, free goods and special pricing on massive purchases that only Total can afford, and then move the product amongst their stores. One or more of their locations will turn into a warehouse from which the supply will go to their other locations. It's a huge advantage that they hold over your local liquor stores already, but this provision will make it even worse. When Total Wine is offering the same bottle of wine for $4 less a bottle than your local liquor store can, this will be a huge part of the reason. Mr. Chairman, this provision is a step towards corporate consolidation in the liquor industry. It's a giveaway to the largest corporate retail entity in the state and will hurt the local liquor stores in your district. It's a step towards the erosion of the three-tier system that protects our thousands of small businesses in this industry and the great middle-class jobs that our members have warehousing and delivering the products to them. Total Wine will soon come asking for the same transfer on liquor and then on beer and finally direct shipping from breweries and wineries. This provision is a bad idea and the Teamsters strongly encourage you to remove it from the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roars. Can you please make room for Joel Carlson to come forward? Mr. Irwin, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Brant Irwin. I serve as the president and legal counsel of the Minnesota Beer Wholesalers Association. We are the trade association of family-owned distributors that employ thousands of Minnesotans throughout the state. I'm here to oppose Senate File 1759, a bill that would provide additional regulatory benefits to large mega retailers. Specifically, this bill would erode the laws in place that prohibit central warehousing and retail-to-retail sales by allowing retailers to transfer product from one licensed premise to another. Under current law, retail-to-retail sales and transfers are banned for several reasons. In order to ensure complete accountability and transparency with this heavily regulated product, regulators in the Department of Revenue require that suppliers ship to distributors, who in turn ship to retailers, who in turn sell to consumers. Through this process, the products are subject to audit, they're subject to inspection in order to ensure that all relevant alcohol laws are being obeyed and all taxes have been paid. This bill invades the function reserved for the middle tier of our three-tiered system. If enacted, the bill has the potential to destabilize the alcohol market and result in hyper-competition because a retailer could take advantage of volume discounts not available to other retailers, buy the alcohol cheaper, and then transship to its other retail outlets. These mega retailers are likely then to pursue trade and pricing practices that result in below-cost, lost leader sales and other monopolistic practices that will destabilize the alcohol market with impacts on both consumption patterns and abuse. This proposed legislation cuts away at the accountability and transparency that exists now, opening the door to a record-keeping nightmare that only works to the benefit of a select few large retailers while putting the majority of retail stores at a competitive disadvantage. I do want to thank Senator Rasmusson for his proactive approach to dealing with this issue. We've had a number of conversations over the last few years that were very detailed and respectful, but unfortunately, we respectfully oppose this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Can you please make room for Ms. Schoenzeit to come forward? Mr. Carlson, welcome to the committee.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Joel Carlson. I represent the Minnesota Wine and Spirit Wholesalers Association, and as I've testified in front of this committee before, we strongly support the three-tier system for alcohol regulation and its components of keeping everyone within their lane. Manufacturing, wholesale distributing, and retailing has allowed Minnesota to have an exceedingly successful and well-regulated liquor industry. We have excellent large and small retailers, and our concern with this proposal of exempting people from the storage requirements of 340A, and that's what this bill does. It exempts them from the storage requirements, is that it gives a competitive advantage to some retailers that can hold product and store it and transfer it among themselves that small or medium-sized retailers just don't have the opportunity to do. It's a volume discount issue, it is a storage issue, and we have grave concerns about that. Not that we have any concerns about our big retailers. They do an excellent job, but it is a competitive marketplace that the three-tier system protects. And this, to us, runs counter to that. And, you know, one of the things that I'll just close by just saying, Mr. Irwin touched on the issue of central warehousing, and that is a real, genuine concern for the liquor industry. And I would just point out that the position of the National Association of Wine Retailers is to embrace central warehousing as the way for them to obtain market share and to gain a competitive advantage in the retail marketplace and then ship it directly to consumers, something else we have issues about. So we see what may be coming, and that gives us great concern. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll be happy to answer questions if they come up.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Ms. Schoenzeit, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Jennifer Schoenzeit Scholler. I'm the owner of Zips Liquor in Minneapolis, right off of Riverside and 94 near the U of M. I'm representing the Minnesota Liquor Beverage Association. Members are independent family-owned retailers, both on and off sale, and bars, including bars and restaurants. We strongly oppose this bill to allow unnecessary wine transfers. We call this the wine storage bill. The legislature both is one unfair and unnecessary. Allowing retailers to transfer products from one store to another puts all independent retailers at a disadvantage. We also know this promotes central warehousing by big box retailers, which circumvents the three-tiered system. Liquor retailers that are not Total Wine do not have the same equal access to larger retailers. We can't purchase the same quantity or amounts. Essentially, this bill gives an unfair advantage to one large chain to expand and take over the little guys. I'll give an example why this bill is literally only helping one large liquor store company. Our wholesalers and retailers have pulled these numbers. The average Minnesota municipal liquor store sells 41 cases of wine a week. My store, which is one of the larger independent stores, sells about 80 cases a week. According to the wholesalers at the Minnesota Total Wine sell an average of 1,200 cases of wine a week. They have the most sophisticated inventory management system in the country, and they already have an advantage of bulk discounts. One major chain store, Total Wine, doesn't need more advantages. It's picking winners and losers, and frankly, this legislation is pretty non-competitive, anti-competitive. Essentially, as I mentioned, that it's totally unnecessary. Total Wine doesn't need to move wine because it's going bad. Wine doesn't really go bad in 3-4 weeks. If we had product that doesn't sell, they should do what the rest of us do, put it on sale, move it out. It seems silly that they need to move it from store to store. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Schoenzeit. Are there other members of the public who would like to testify on the bill? Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. I've just got a couple of questions, if that's okay. So Senator Rasmusson, first and foremost, a lot of the testifiers seem to be referencing one large company and the thought that it gives them some sort of an unfair advantage. But I recall when you first introduced the bill, you talked about the municipal-owned liquor stores in your district. I as well, the city of Lakeville has about 4 or 5 liquor stores that they run, operate, utilize to generate revenue to offset taxes for people, keep property taxes as low as possible. This is something that would be, as you described, a great benefit to them as well, is it not?
Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Duckworth. Yes, you'll see a letter of support from the city of Fergus Falls in your packet. I believe last year the city of Edina had reached out because I think they also have multiple liquor stores and indicated their support for an identical bill. And I would also say that with the 75 case cap, if anything, it actually, for those smaller stores like Municipal in Fergus Falls that sell less wine than a larger retailer, it actually benefits them more because they get to move a greater percent of their inventory when you have a total capped amount. It's not a percentage of sales. It's not a percentage of revenue. It's capped at 75 cases. And to look at the concern over warehousing, it just simply, warehousing is not allowed in the bill before the committee. The city of Fergus Falls, there's no retailer in the state that would be able to have a warehouse system when you can only transfer inventory at a maximum of 4 times per year, 1 time per 3-month period with 75 cases. And so, a little bit of the, I almost feel like Mr. Chair and Senator Duckworth were talking about 2 different bills. There's the one before the committee, and then there's this kind of phantom bill that, doesn't actually address the language in the bill.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You saved me from asking another question about centralized warehousing. As I read the bill, to me, it would seem that if you're only allowed 1 transfer for every 3 months, you're going from a retail location to a retail location. You're not going to some sort of centralized location, I think, as you just said. quite frankly, the bill is, in my opinion, I guess, pretty limited in what it would allow some of these folks to do. And then my last question is essentially this. Right now, let's say I am a large commercial wine seller, and I have a good portion of product that I think is about to go bad or expire at various locations. Right now, and I think as was shared earlier, what I might choose to do is significantly discount a large quantity of that product in the various marketplaces, local economies that it's in, just to get it off my shelves, versus using this law to transfer it from one location to another, and rather than discount it, actually sell it at retail, which I think kind of is a little bit counterintuitive to some of the testimony that was shared earlier. Rather than seeing tons of product get discounted at multiple locations because it can't get moved, you might actually see more product get sold at prices more reflective of other locations and competitors because it is allowed to be moved. Is that something that you kind of foresee playing out as it relates to this bill, or maybe a reason behind it?
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Duckworth. Yes, exactly. I think this will help avoid wasted product that could expire. And I think it's also important to underscore that this is just within liquor stores of common ownership. And so they could only transfer from one location that they own to another location that they own, a very limited quantity. And again, it's also important to note that in Minnesota law, there's prohibitions against below-cost selling for alcoholic beverages. And so there's also limitations on how much a retailer could even discount their product. And so I think, again, this is about helping retailers who have already bought and paid for the wine that were transported to them by wholesalers, make sure they get the right product in the right place at the right time for Minnesota consumers. And so I think that's the benefit of this bill, and it's very limited so that you could never allow warehousing, just given the quantities and the timing we're talking about.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. Mr. Chair, I would just say, we talked a little bit about local control earlier. To me, this is a similar philosophy. We're going to allow business to have ultimate local control over its practices and operations. I think this is kind of an example of that.
Yeah, Senator Duckworth actually brought advantage of this bill forward in my thinking that I hadn't thought of previously. I was a supporter of the bill as a common sense commerce policy. But when we think about food waste, we met with representatives from Hunger on the Hill this week, and they talked about how they take overage at grocery stores and cafeterias and restaurants and schools, and then they bring that to food shelters, and they make sure that food does not go in a dumpster and it has a purpose. Obviously, we wouldn't want to bring wine to a food shelter, but this is a way that we sort of cut down on food waste. Would you say that's accurate, Senator Rasmusson?
Mr. Chair, yes. And this was something I learned about this process, and actually had a good conversation with Senator Wiesenberg, who used to work at a local liquor retailer in the district he represents, and he talks about how white wine can go bad and it has a shelf life, and if it expires, they have to throw it away. And so I do think that this would help with wastage at the retail locations.
Senator Dahms.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this question would be for Ms. Baker.
Senator Dahms.
So, Ms. Baker, could you tell me how many bottles of wine have you thrown away in the last 90 days because it got past its shelf life?
Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd have to check that. I haven't obviously been in a store to dump my wine, but we have a chart in the back room, and it lists various vintages, and it lists the year, and each store is responsible for checking their inventory against that list, and it lists the year as well as the price point, because unfortunately, wine does kind of follow price point as far as how long it will last. So we do actually keep track of wine by vintage, by year, and by price, and each store has that chart. I'm happy to share that chart with you.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dahms.
And Ms. Baker, so you have no idea how much wine you've thrown out in the last 90 days?
Not myself personally. I can certainly find out for you, though.
If you'd find that out, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Senator Rasmusson. You know, we've had this discussion before. I am not cheering against the 10 stores of Total Wine. I support Minnesota business, but I am very much cheering for the independent small stores, including those in my district, that feel the competitive advantage is very important, and I'm sure as hell cheering for the working men and women who seem to feel that this bill is against their economic interest. Husbands, wives, you know, homeowners that are trying to make their bills meet, and their testimony here seems pretty clear. They do not like the bill, and therefore I cannot support it. I do appreciate the testimony. I love that we talk about businesses and how to promote them, but I'll tell you, my story goes back to the Sunday liquor sales when we had a little bit of debate my freshman year in the Senate about whether that would affect my local liquor store owners, of course, in my district, I know personally. And I was a no on Sunday liquor sales. And one of the liquor stores close to my grandma's house closed before the law even took effect. I would much rather have a large number of small independent businesses in Minnesota, allow them to try to grow with a level playing field and let the chips fall where they may, than to put my thumb on the scale in a way that, in my opinion, might disadvantage the smaller business owners to the advantage of a larger one. I'm not against a large business. We're dealing with a company called Amazon on the data center bill in the Energy Committee. But I do think in this case, the testimony of the independent operators and the working men and women is probably compelling. I was hoping we could bring Mr. Carlson up for just 2 seconds for a question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Carlson.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. It won't take long.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Carlson, I'm not an expert. I don't own a liquor store. What is the position on stranded product? I mean, I don't want to waste food. I don't want to waste wine, but what's the story on stranded product?
Mr. Carlson.
Mr. Chairman and Senator Frentz, from the wholesale standpoint, we don't know that there is any stranded product, but I can tell you that, as they mentioned, we had a lot of conversations about this bill last session, and we have offered to address the stranded product issue, if there is any, through a process with AGD that doesn't just allow carte blanche storage of wine. You know, the stranded product, we don't know exists, and if it does, it's not a great issue, a huge issue. We're happy to address that. I also would point out, though, that the current law does address that, because the storage requirement in 340A 412 allows a retailer to get permission from AGD if they have to move product. And so if I had stranded product that I thought could sell at the downtown Fergus liquor store as opposed to the one out by 94, it's a city I represent, I know it well, you know, they could ask AGD to do that. But no one really hasn't. That provision, according to AGD, has really only been used when there's been a storm and their power's gone out and they've had to move product, or they've changed locations and they had to move product with permission of AGD. They could get permission to do it right now. It's in the statute right now. Particularly, I think, if it were stranded and they said, we want to move this because of that reason. That's a different issue than knowingly storing product and being able to transfer it to your own stores, whether it's from Bloomington to Rochester or any place else with Costco and their locations around the state. I mean, that's the concern of the industry and why, you know, we're cautious about this and to what it could morph into.
Senator
Thank you.
Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Carlson.
Other questions or comments from the committee? Closing comments from Senator Rasmusson. Oh, Senator Dahms.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been around the alcohol stuff for several years, and I'll just put this on the record that if this is allowed, this is the beginning of a slippery slope to warehousing, and people can say that's not the way it is. I have colleagues that don't agree with me, and that's fine. But in my opinion, this is the basic start of the warehousing, and there's a lot of issues with that, and it goes against a three-tier system, and so I cannot support the bill.
Thank you, Lead Dahms. Closing comments from Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the robust conversation on this bill. And I would just say, like, I am very open to feedback. And even if you look at many of the restrictions that are in the bill, that came from direct conversations with wholesalers. I also just wanted to note that I have offered to the wholesalers and their drivers if they would like to have a right of first refusal on actually being able to transfer this product. And so that also remains an option that I'm happy to consider if they do have interest in that approach. But I think it's important that we look at what the bill does and what it doesn't do. It addresses just wine. Because for beer, there is a mechanism to send back product that's going to expire. And there's no way that someone could warehouse this product given the limits in the bill. Again, for most retailers, when you calculate it out, it'd be less than 1% of their sales over the course of the year if they maximize to the bottle how much they could transfer under this law. And then it also maintains the three-tier system. 100% of the wine that would potentially be transferred in this bill will have been purchased from and delivered by a wholesaler to the retail location. And so, Mr. Chair, I think it's important that, over time, as we've looked at our liquor laws, we have made many small adjustments that are just common sense that help consumers, that help business operations to be efficient. And I think we always hear that the sky is falling and the arguments about slippery slope. But I would just ask members of the committee to judge the bill by the words on the page and the effect that it would have in Minnesota. And I think it's a very common sense step in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Rasmusson. Senate File 1759, as amended, will be laid over. Members, we are adjourned.